So, welcome to our second edition of Tea Time at Rock Bottom Ranch. My name is Kelly Tinley. I'm the executive director of Rock Bottom Ranch. We are a Christian recovery home for women exiting incarceration who struggle with all types of addictions. We're a 12-month program located in Palestine, Texas. And I'm here with
Tesney Davis, and I'm the spiritual director at Rock Bottom Ranch. And
I'm Nima West, and I'm the treasurer for the board of Rock Bottom Ranch.
And I'm Lori Wolf, and I teach out at the ranch.
So last episode, it was Tesney and I, and we kind of talked a little about how we got to know each other. And so this second episode is really just the four of us, the founders, kind of coming together, reminiscing about all of the amazing ways that the Lord has moved in this ministry. Because I don't think that any one of us expected it to take off the way it did and impact our lives so profoundly. At least I can say that for myself. I never really expected kind of the growth and the heart change and the blessings that have come from it to my life personally. And my relationship with the Lord has just blossomed in a way that I never knew possible. And so we just wanted to kind of come together and get everyone to just get to know the founders and how the ranch started. And so if you didn't watch the first episode, you have to go back and catch up on that. And so kind of where we left off was, I think really Nima's kind of part of the story. So Nima, why don't you tell us a little about how we met, what's some of your favorite parts?
Okay, Kelly and I met at Evangelistic Temple, and my husband asked me if I would pick her up and take her to a women's conference. Didn't even know her, but I said sure. And so we got to know each other that weekend. And then just so happened that she and I started volunteering at a local nonprofit and spent a lot of time helping them with their policies and procedures and just a lot of time together. And so that's how we got started. And Kelly then kind of just invited me along then to look at a prospective building.
Yeah.
So that's how we got started.
Yeah. That was a really exciting time because Tesney and I had kind of been talking about this, but none of us really had any idea what we were doing. We had no finances for it, but we definitely knew the Lord was moving and definitely knew that the Lord was telling us to do something. And we were just trying to be obedient at that point, I think. And it was exciting for me to have that like instant blessing, the financial blessing that we received, and just the confirmation of, yep, this is the location. Yeah. And not only is this the location, here's the money you need for the location. And remember, Nima, I was out of town when all that happened. And I called you up and I said, hon, you got to take care of this. You got to you got to go get that money.
Yes.
What did you think in that moment? I mean, do you remember how terrifying and exciting that was?
Yes, I do. I remember like oh golly, we can't have this kind of money just lying around.
Right.
I mean, this has to be put somewhere, know. What do we do? What do we do? And the first thing I thought about was calling our pastor to see if we could put it in the safe at the church.
Yeah.
And he agreed. He agreed to that. And so that was a weight off of both of our backs, because we knew the money was safe.
Yeah.
It was exciting for me to see how Nima and Laurie caught the vision, because I had had this vision and this dream for several years, and just to see these women get excited about this and see the Lord bringing them on, and the faith that was already planted, and with the financial seed that came to us, it just, like I said in the last podcast, it kind of sealed things for us, I think, to just give us that kickstart.
Yeah. So I can remember the money was still in the bank, and we were sure we were going to get the place, because the money was actually kind of donated for our location. But even then, I can still remember not knowing exactly what we were going to do. And I remember Nima calling and saying, I know this lady, and I mean, she will be great. She will be absolutely great. And her name is Lori Wolf. And so we were like, well, let's go meet her. Let's just go meet her. And so we all met at, what was it, Mario's? Mm-hmm. Mario's? Mm-hmm. Yeah. We met Lori and Ernie at Mario's. And had you met Lori before that?
Yes. Yes, we'd
so I think
We've all
church
three
together.
known each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think I was the only one that hadn't met you. And but I can remember so distinctly after that meeting that this was it. This was the team. And I was thinking about it this morning. I was thinking about salvation actually this morning, and just the fact that I know that I'm saved. I don't have any kind of question or reservation. I feel very, secure in my salvation. That's how I felt after that meeting. Mm-hmm. So you left first, Lori, and I can remember specifically me, Nima, and Tesney standing right in front of the door at Mario's, holding each other's arms, going, this is it. This is it. She's great. Yeah. I mean, she's perfect. Yeah. What were your thoughts of that?
Of the meeting?
Yeah.
Well, I have to back up a little bit because, Ernie and I had served within the church for so many years, and we were at the point where we were thinking, the mission field shouldn't be inside the church, so we were looking for some place to serve outside the church. So we've been praying about where God wanted us, and Shelley actually called me because she had been to Hope Station that day, and said, you need to call Nima, because she'd been listening to me share what was on our hearts to do, and she said, I think this might be it for you. So I called her up and I said, what you got going on? And she said, well, and she started to tell me about it. And I said, I would love to, to meet and just hear more about it and stuff. And so I told Ernie, I said, before we even met, I said, now, before we meet, if we decide to do this thing, this is a commitment.
Yeah.
Yes.
A huge commitment. Yeah. And we're both retired, and I know we want to serve, but are you ready for
this
are
isn't
you ready
a
for that
gig.
commitment? Because you know how I am.
Yeah.
And he said, absolutely. So we kind of had the green light. I had the green light from him.
Yeah.
Prior to.
What was amazing to me, though, was how quickly you made up your mind.
Yeah.
That you wanted to be in on it that day. You said, I'm in. We're in.
Well, I've been praying about it for so long, and God, when God, hands you something like this, our mind was really kind of already made up before we ever had the meeting.
Yeah.
It was just whether you want, and we didn't even know how we would be used. Remember, I remember saying, however you need me, whether it's teaching, just financial, however, we're on board, for that. So. That same afternoon, Nima called and said, how about being the secretary on the board of directors? And I'm like, well, I've never done that before. Let me do a little research. Let me pray. And so I looked at, like Brandy's doing, looked up a bunch of information on it and said, well, I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a confirmation in your heart of what God was calling you to. The amazing thing is, you know, you got your feet, you got your feet in, not knowing exactly what you wanted, what was ahead of you. And I think that for all of us, we got our feet wet, and that was it. And we knew we could not pull back because it was what God was calling us to do.
That's kind of one of the amazing things about it, because it didn't take but just maybe meeting together a couple of times to know just exactly what lane,
That's
why
right.
he
Right.
put the four of us together,
Right.
and what we would be doing within the ministry. Yeah.
And it's so amazing to look back now how quickly it all took off, right? I mean, one day we're having lunch. The next day, I feel like we were signing papers. The next day, we're trying to scramble to figure out, well, what is a 501c3 and how do you get one? Like,
Well, I knew what
right?
that was.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness Lori had that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So we kind of immediately started taking care of, especially with, like you say, with Lori, the business end
Yes.
of how do you get it
Yes.
started and whatnot. Meeting at the church because the paperwork hadn't gone through. We didn't have the building yet. So we probably the first 3 or 4 meetings maybe we had at the church.
Yes.
Yeah. And then once we finally got into the house,
Oh, wow.
then the next thing we started doing was really working on what a mess we had to get ready. I mean, we had a lot of work cut out for us.
I remember seeing the building for the first time after we signed the paper.
Yeah.
And I walked in going, Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, Lord.
Yeah.
There was a lot of work to do.
It was a lot of work. Of course, my perspective, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. It's turnkey. We can move people in this weekend. You know, it's great. Let's go. And everyone's going, oh, I don't think so. Yeah. And so that's when we started really wrangling all of the men in.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Until we realized they were all a little too old to crawl underneath the building.
But they did.
they did.
It was so funny because Tesney and Kelly were the visionaries. They were the big dreamers. and Tina and I were like, we're more down here.
Yeah.
Let's think this through.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget one of our first meetings. Kelly says, I have a feeling, I just have a feeling that Lori's going to be reining us in.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm called the bubble popper in my home. There he goes. There you go.
But what a balance, though! What a mix and a balance we've been for each other, and that's God, isn't it? You know, because each one of us is different personalities, different giftings. Then, and just like the church, you know, I think, as an example of the church, that you know, that's how we should see that. But together, look what can be accomplished with God, the Holy Spirit, leading and guiding us. So, yeah.
So what are some of your guys' favorite memories about, let's just talk about that first year. The building of the program and the renovation of the facility.
Wow. All the many people that just came when they knew we needed help.
Yeah.
People that were from all different churches
Yep.
that came and helped. And then the family style meals that we had with everybody every day. And we grew to love each other so much.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite times, really, of the first year.
Yeah. I have to agree with you as far as the meals.
Yeah.
We from early on decided that was our time to not really, you know, talk too much about business so much, but just to get to know and just to
each
love
other.
each other. And that was absolutely, it's still one of my favorites.
Yes.
And we still to this day invite people to come.
Yes.
Come have lunch. Well, if you're going to come by, come around noon and eat with us. And it's such a time of growth and really healing, especially for the girls. I know we were going to talk about just the first year, but for the girls, I think that is an amazing time for them to heal, because, when you're coming from incarceration and they give you 5 whole minutes to eat and you just got to shovel the food in, and along with addiction comes food issues, and as a country, we're really going away from sitting down as a family and talking and getting to know. And so just that opportunity to slow down and to realize that we're a family.
Well, and so many of these girls have never even sat down and had family meals.
Right.
It was either grabbing a bite and sitting in front of the TV or just eating junk all day long or whatever. And the family meals really have come to mean a lot to them.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think the first year, what was just really stuck out the most to me was watching God move. It was almost like, He heard our thoughts even, and just all the answered prayer. I mean, just we would pray about something because we did not have the finances for it. We had to really totally depend on His, His provision, and just watching that every time. It didn't matter how tiny it was, from the tiniest thing to the biggest thing, and just what a faith builder. That was for me, just to watch Him move like that. Or we'd just sit around, the 4 of us would be talking about a need, not even lifting it really before Him in prayer, and then the phone would ring or knock on the door, and that very thing would be provided. And I just, I know that spoke to Tim a lot. That spoke huge to Ernie, and it was... honestly, it was daily miracles.
It really was.
The way I look at it.
His provision.
Yeah.
One of the examples that comes to my mind right now is, so the laundry room was completed and decorated by Back to the Bible Church in Oakwood, the Reeds, and they did a almost the color of Nima's shirt. I mean, but toned way down, that blue kind of teal, soft blue color. And I can remember being like, well, we're going to need to get 12 laundry baskets, right? We're definitely, the girls are all going to need laundry. And it couldn't have been 2 days later that we got a donation from Walmart. Not only was it the laundry baskets, but the darn laundry baskets matched the yes. Right? It was like, are you kidding me? And then the towels. The towels matched not only the laundry baskets and the walls, but I mean, it was like,
amazing.
Just beautiful, just sweet little kisses.
Yes, yes.
Yes, a hymn comes to my mind. There's a line in that hymn, great is thy faithfulness. Every need is hand supplied. And I just always have to have a song, And so that came to my mind just now as we were thinking about every need, no matter what.
Yes.
What was one of your fondest memories of the first year?
Oh, I think tea time. Just gathering round the teapot, and just talking through things. Because I mean, you can sit in an office and behind your desk and discuss things, or go into the conference room, but when we're sitting with tea and just chatting, it's more relaxed, but we seem to get a lot more done. If you think back, all the things that we were trying to accomplish between procedures and rules and everything, we got a lot done just sitting around with a cup of tea. And so just getting to know each other as well.
I think one of the stories I remember the most too was when Rolo Insurance came, the agent, getting insurance, and coming back a year later, for renewal, and him confessing the fact that when he came the first time, he said, these girls this will never happen. They'll never get this off the ground. And he said, boy, was I wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot had happened in a year.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I think also of when we were looking at how much needed to be done on the building and the property and everything, and lo and behold, and I'm going to let Nima fill this in as well, but God supplied a whole group of men from the Palace.
From the prisons, it's
Yes.
from Texas Department of Criminal Justice. But before that, Lori's, it's Ernie's brother,
Yeah.
did tremendous work.
Yes,
on
he
that
did.
building. He and men from Southside and Tim and people from our church and various places, they had already done tremendous work on the building. The foundation was in total disrepair.
Stephen.
Rotten. Stephen.
That's when he came
we
on
had an
board.
amazing young man, Stephen.
Yeah.
And I think Kelly may want to tell you about him in a minute.
Yeah.
But after we had really gone as far as we could, we got a hold of Texas Department of Criminal Justice and found out that we could get the help from the inmates that go out on the cruise to help 501c3s,
Yeah.
schools, parks, and all that.
Yeah.
And they spent, how long were they with us?
About 3.5 months, I
3.5
think.
months, 4 months.
August. It was August to November.
Yeah.
And that's really one of my fondest memories right there. Some of those men had never sat around and had family dinners either.
Yes.
And you'd see them, kind of get tearful at times and would stand around and hold hands and pray, and they would get tearful. And a funny story, too, is that the sergeant that came out there was my captain, or I think he was my captain at one of the units that I'd worked on, and he was just obnoxious.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, he's going to bring them out here like that. And that man has found Jesus. And he's totally a different person. Totally. And I love him dearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would still tell him what an awful person he was at the prison. But seeing the inmates just soften up and loving what they were doing
Yeah.
for the purpose that they were doing it, and coming up with their own little design
Yeah.
ideas. Some
Yeah.
of them we say, "Oh, that's awesome," and some of them we go, "Oh, we don't want
Yeah.
to do that." But it was a wonderful time, and we were all tearful whenever we had to tell them goodbye.
Yeah. I think one of the neatest ways that God brought that whole team together was that every one of those inmates were drug addicts and
Yes.
or alcoholics. So they were incarcerated for the exact reason that we were out to help women.
Right.
And so they immediately felt connected with the ministry. They immediately saw the need of the ministry, and they really started to take ownership in it, right?
They did.
And pride in it,
did.
and that was very cool to watch. And like you say, the lunches with those guys were really, really special. I can remember Cruz, right? He would eat and get up and leave, but towards the end, he was hanging around and laughing. Now some of them, like 50, just cut up with Ernie all the time. I mean, that was another favorite part of the whole experience was watching Lori's husband Ernie fall in love with those men.
Yes.
And just, I mean, you've never seen a grown man have to turn away to watch his friends enter. And when they started to load up, getting in that van, I mean, Ernie could not.
He got in it with them.
The very last,
Very last day.
day.
Got in it.
The very
the
last
last
day.
Yes.
And I have a picture of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, he couldn't stand to see them load up. He couldn't stand it.
Nope, and he couldn't. He'd come inside. I never saw him get so emotional over the spoon.
Oh, yes.
Tell that
You
story,
gotta
Lord.
tell
You got to tell that story.
I shared at lunch one day, just kind of a jab at Ernie, just telling everybody that when we go on trips, that Ernie collects spoons. Well, they thought that was the funniest thing. That grown man goes around and he collects these spoons. So they were going to play a joke on him, and they were going to give him this plastic spoon, and they were going to have it all wrapped up in a really nice box and stuff. And so I caught wind of what they were going to do, and I remember saying, "Oh, that's not going to go the way you think it's going to go." And they said, "What do you mean?" And I said, it's going to touch him. And I remember they're all sitting there and they're all excited,
Yeah.
waiting for him to open up that box. And
He-
he got tears
Yeah.
in his eyes, and he was so touched by that. And they're all like, they don't know what to say.
because they wanted to razz him so
Oh,
bad,
yeah.
but they were like, "Wow, he really loves it." And this old, like
TDCJ.
TDCJ plastic
Plastic
spoon, all cut up and like a Tupperware thing that you're
That's
ready
right.
to toss out. You're like, "Really, you eat?"
He'll
this?
tell you that's one of his most prized possessions.
I
and
believe
he
it.
has it sitting in there right with the rest of them.
I believe it. Yeah, that was an amazing moment.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really captured his heart, because I remember the first day I'm coming out
Oh, yeah.
there and I'm going to make sure you girls are safe. You know, and I was like, there's not going to be no shenanigans going on around there. And, you know, and he was like real hard. And then just to watch that whole transformation, it was like,
And then literally towards the end, I'd be like, Ernie, are you going to let these guys work today? You know, like, are you going to let them get anything done? Or are you just going to talk?
I know I'd go home and I'd say, Ernie, you're going to have to back out.
Hilarious. Yeah. Too much.
I remember how touched we were, you know, just to show you the friendships that bond, and, you know, quickly over meals and, you know, spending time with people every day was when our son passed away. And Slater was there. That spoke volumes to me, and just, you know, kind of solidified that those relationships leave marks, you know, on people, whether you, you know, go on and you see them afterwards. You know, you may not, but you know that it left a mark. Yeah.
This is podcast producer Trey Comstock. Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of Tea Time at the Ranch. There is more to come on the story of how Rock Bottom Ranch came to be in our next episode, which will be going up soon. However, in the meantime, if you have been moved by the stories you have heard, or if you would like to support the ministry that is happening here at Rock Bottom Ranch, please, 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 we need volunteers and we need financial donations. They are the lifeblood of any nonprofit trying to make a difference in God's world. And so if you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 903-727-2550. Our website is rockbottomranch.org, and our Facebook is Women on the Rock. We hope to hear from you soon. God bless.